afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Lunch with Dodie. It's a great Friday. We have some nice summer weather going on, and we have some great folks here joining us today as we're going to meet our new police chief, Mr. Anglemier. I just want to take a little minute to thank our lunch people today. Lunch is compliments of one of our fabulous members, Eileen Williams. And today I have lunch from Live Local Cafe. I'm having the salmon spread bagel, which is really awesome. And then they do a fruited chicken salad wrap or a Mediterranean chicken wrap that's really good. I'm having that for later without the wrap. And they are open every day, weekdays 8 to 2, and on weekends 8 to 2, and weekdays 7 to 3. You can order online and pick it up. And it's a family-owned business with lots of yummy good things, coffee, pastries, bagels, and they also have rental space. So if you're interested in an event space, they have some available. So that's really great. And then we also today, for our free giveaway gift, we have some wonderful sunflower seeds that are of the Teddy Bear brand. And this is compliments of Silver Falls Seed Company here in Silverton, compliments of Triangle Farms. And you've probably seen all the beautiful flowers that are blooming up around Evans Valley. We've seen some great pictures on Facebook. I have one of their pictures on our profile page for our Facebook for the Senior Center. And everybody will receive some wildflower seeds in the mail after today. So with that, we'll say, hi, Police Chief Jim Anglemier, and what is your favorite flower today?
Probably the red and yellow roses. I can't grow them, my wife can, but I can weed them.
Awesome. So you probably buy her roses too when she,
Absolutely. Keeps me out of trouble.
There you go. Well, thank you for joining us. You want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the time. And I know everybody's got things they do throughout the day, so I appreciate that. Great opportunity to touch base with you. But yeah, I grew up in Corvallis. My dad was an OSU professor down there, so I grew up in a college town and sports and all that kind of stuff. And went to OSU for a couple of terms I went there for sports and to wrestle. I did that, and then, kind of bored and didn't stay up on my classwork, and there are repercussions. So I kind of got my act together. I went in the Air Force and traveled overseas and did a bunch of fun things that I'm glad I did. I grew up a lot, got into law enforcement, and was debating whether to stay down in the West Coast, down maybe California, but came back to Oregon and wanted to get with state police and tested, ended up really well, but they went into a 2-year hiring freeze, and I happened to go through Salem and applied, and next thing I knew, I got hired. So that was back in 1982. So I spent the next almost 33 years with Salem. Had a great career, worked my way all the way up to lieutenant, worked in patrol, detectives, narcotics, vice, SWAT, peer support and trauma team work. Virtually almost every unit in the department I either worked in as an officer, a sergeant, or a lieutenant. So great opportunities, great department. And I thought I would probably end up retiring there because we had a daughter and she was finishing up her bachelor's degree. And I figured, well, I'll just work till she's done and I'll be done. And then an opportunity came up where some people got hold of me and said, Jeff Fossholm, the chief at the time here at Silverton, was looking for a captain. So when they're telling me this, I'm wondering, are they trying to kick me out of the house over at Salem, or is this really a good opportunity? But several people said, he's looking for what you like to do. So I made an appointment. I've known Jeff for years, came over and talked with him, spent some time with him. I didn't want to waste his time, and told him what I could do, what my skill sets were, what I thought I was strong at, what I need work on. He asked me to apply. Next thing I knew, I was in the running, and next thing I got hired. So I've now been here for just over 5 years. It's been a great experience. I think everybody knows Jeff retired as of June 1st. Yep. I just saw him a few days ago. He is enjoying it. He's pretty much in Hawaiian shirt, short pants, flip-flops. That's his normal mode now.
There you
and
go.
I think if you run into him, he will probably tell you what he really thinks now, right? Yep. So
I was thinking he might join us later for lunch just to see, hey, what's going on, in the retirement world, I just reached out to him recently, so we'll see.
Yeah, Jeff was a great person. I enjoyed working for him and with him. I can't say enough about the guy. He gave me a lot of opportunities, work with a great department, a lot of good people here. So we've been working there, and I got to be honest, coming up through my career, I used to tell people I liked being a sergeant. A sergeant gets to do some admin stuff, some policy stuff, but you're also working the field and working with the troops and being out there doing training and all that stuff, and get to go to a lot of interesting calls. But I told him, if I ever try to test for lieutenant or something, I hope you guys take me out back and straighten me up. Yeah, I'm glad I went up the ranks a little bit. And then when I came over here, we worked on a lot of different stuff, Jeff and I, and with the other sergeants, and made some changes and got some improvements. Jeff started talking about a year out that he was thinking about retiring, if I'd be interested. And initially I said, no, I don't think so. And then he kept coming back at me every now and then. And then finally I said, this wouldn't be a bad thing. And so I did accept his kind of thoughts, and we ended up talking with the city manager, and it worked out with her and the council. And so 2 months into it, and I'm still trying to get my feet on the ground. And of course, right when Jeff left, everything was nice and calm.
Yeah.
Exception of COVID. Okay, we're dealing with that.
Yeah.
And then the first month we had kind of a few major big things in the city that seemed like, okay, what are we dealing with this week or tomorrow? But everything has worked out really well. We've had great communication with the community. We've had a lot of support. We've worked with people. We've gotten things taken care of. But that's kind of my experience there, getting to where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Probably some of the big changes we've seen is how we deal with COVID, because that has totally changed how we deal with normal calls for service when we go out there. Just like everybody's wearing face masks, washing their hands, keeping their distance. Unfortunately for police and the fire folks, sometimes we need to get in closer working with people, just because that's what people need at that point in time. So constantly we're doing a lot of self-checks every day, temperature checks. We're watching each other. We know the key signs to look for, and trying to stay on top of taking care of one another so we can take care of others. We've been very fortunate. We haven't had, like a lot of departments have gotten hit, and when you have people get pulled out for 14 days at a whack,
yeah.
For a small agency like us, that's a big impact, and it wouldn't take long to hurt us. We've been fortunate on that. So we do a lot of what we can over the phone, dealing with folks. We have curtailed some of our operations from what was the norm back a year ago, but everybody's adjusting real well. Fortunately, the community's been real good about stepping up and doing what they can to protect themselves and prevent, problems with this virus. A little bit slower, but, I think now it's getting into, people are getting a little edgy about being at home so much around even family. You get friction, and now the kids are all wanting to go back to school, or some don't, but they want to see their friends. And now we're dealing with the kids out and about. They're just getting restless. So
I have seen a lot more up here at the skate park, and because they're outside, I suppose they don't feel they have to wear masks.
Yeah, I think part of it, when we all think back to what we were like when we were that age, we were all immortal.
Yeah.
And you go out and do dangerous stuff like with your bikes or your motorcycles. Yeah. We're riding horses and doing stupid things we all did and fell off. But yeah, for the most part, kids have been pretty good. But I don't think the impact has really hit them like it's hit other age groups, and realize what we're dealing with here. This is something totally new to everybody. Anyway, here at the department, we're working on some goals. We're trying to get the officers out more in the community, working with different groups, organizations. We're trying to get them out and do a little more foot patrol in downtown area, so folks see them. At least we can talk, even if it's 6 feet apart. Have casual conversation just to say hi, how you doing? If you anything going on that you need to tell them about, please feel free to stop and ask them or give us a call. We'd be more than happy to deal with things. We are looking at, once we get through this COVID situation, planning for what we call a Citizens Police Academy. Oh. And what we're going to do, we haven't got the final plan out, but a lot of agencies and cities do these. And it's a time where you can bring in community members, and you'll bring in people from throughout the department, whether it's patrol, detectives, admin staff, different training venues, like, might be driving, firearms, um, confrontational simulations, defensive tactics, and just explain how we go about and we do our job. How do we train for it? How do we employ those techniques out in the field? What are we doing and why we do it? And some of our limitations, because we do go to a lot of calls where somebody has a preconceived notion in their mind on the outcome or what they believe it should be. And we have to explain legally what we can and can't do. And then we have our policies and also the legal world to deal with.
Yep.
So we try to inform people, educate them so they know and understand. And we recognize we may not make everybody happy, but at least if they can understand why we did or did not do something, that will help. Also, recently selected a new school resource officer with the school district.
Sure.
For the past 4 years, Officer JJ Lamoureux was our SRO. JJ did a great job, and JJ recently got promoted to sergeant on June 1st. And
Awesome.
he's got pulled out, promoted up and out, and now working patrol. So we went through discussions with the school district because there's a lot of defunding of police and SROs, but
Yeah.
the good thing here is they recognize the value of having a officer at the schools, because it's more of a teamwork atmosphere with the staff, the counselors, the therapists, everybody there at the school. And it's more of a prevention. If you see something going on with a young person, get hold of them, talk to them, find out what's going on, see if you can't change their direction or their thinking or what they're doing before something bad happens, or they turn 18 and now they're in adulthood and things stick with them.
Right.
We've
Right.
been very successful with that. So
Able to say who the new person is?
yes, we went through basically a 3-phase interview process. Officer Sean Algetz,
Oh,
and
awesome.
yep, she was selected, and again, we met with interviews with the school staff. We brought in an outside agency, school resource officer from Salem, for their input that didn't know anybody. Then we had a meeting with myself, the school superintendent, and then the assistant. And then we had a follow-up interview with several community members, parents of kids, and concerns and questions, just because JJ did such a really good job. People were used to him. He was a fixture at the schools.
Right.
So anytime you have a change like that, people are just curious and want to know what's going to happen.
I have to say, it's nice to hear a JJ moving up. His dad and his mom lived here forever, was a school teacher, taught my brothers, Mr. Lamoureux used to take the boys out wood cutting. So it's nice to see JJ grow up here in Silverton and come from such good family roots to still be able to give back to Silverton and be a policeman here and a sergeant. I just love that. That is so awesome.
Yeah, he's done a great job, and I foresee great things with him, because I've been out there in the field. I'll go out and cover him on certain calls, and JJ would roll into it, and he'd just walk up and he goes, "Well, hi, so-and-so, what are you doing?" And he goes, "I went to school with him."
Yeah.
And it would just calm things down, and you were able to work through the issue and take care of business. But so Sean Algetz, our new officer, she just got done with the basic SRO school. So now we're kind of waiting to see how the school is going to be working in the fall here. They're still going through a bunch of different things and decisions to be made, but we have somebody selected, and we're going to continue with that program, because it's a key program for young people, where they get to know an officer on a personal level, and they find out, well, they're just like me. They put their pants on one leg at a time, and I can go to them and just talk, or I can go tell them about a problem, or I can tell them about a friend who's got a problem. And it's just, invaluable on getting hold of keeping a problem small before it blows up and gets really big and out of control. So
Officer Algetz has helped me with several situations dealing with seniors and different things, and we've gone to a couple in-home situations to help people with different resources and services, and she's always been really great to work with.
Yeah, Sean's a great person, and she's our senior patrol officer, most senior in the whole department. She's got 5 years as a detective, where she worked in a lot of forensics interviews with young people and small children. She understands how that works. She's worked with the schools, and she's a parent. So she's got one in high school. So, she knows about kind of what parenting is all about and what kind of concerns folks have. But she brings a real good skill set to the issues. Can she come in low key and deal with things and keep things moving for the betterment of everything. But she's a big team player, so that's going to work right in with the school atmosphere, because it's not made just on one person making a decision. In most cases, you got to bring in, and a lot of times it will be, well, she might not have the answer, but she knows who to go to or the resources to get somebody to. And that's a big part of our job, because we don't have all the answers. But we're looking forward to that.
So, Charles, you have a question?
I do have a question for the chief. One time we had a cadet program in Silverton. And is the citizen program going to be just an adult version of that?
Well, the Citizens Police Academy we'll set up a time like on a weekend, maybe for 4 hours or 6 hours, bring people in, and we'll just have classes or maybe some hands-on type stuff if people want to do that. We don't have a cadet or reserve program right now. A lot of it is we just don't have the staff right at this point to supervise that and put on the training and be keeping it moving forward. So we've suspended both of them at this point. Maybe in the future, if we can get things more stabilized here, because we just had a lot of transition with promotions and people, and we've got some vacancies we're looking at either holding or filling. It's just kind of not the right time to be jumping into a program like that with a new person who's getting their feet in a new position.
So how is this program going to differ from the cadet program?
The Citizens Police Academy?
Yeah, what will the functions of the volunteers be?
Well, they wouldn't be volunteers. They would be brought in, and it's basically you would come in and we'd have, maybe it's a 1 day, a 2 day, or we break it up over several weeks. But it's more just to come in and listen to how we train, how we work, any questions, find out what kind of equipment we have and use. And it's more of an informational type thing. It's not an actual volunteer program or a cadet program.
So they're not going to man the telephones or do traffic control during the festivals or anything like that?
No, not at this point.
So, Chief Anglemier, when you were talking about your duties and things you've done in the past, what was your most favorite department you worked in?
See, I think I'm super fortunate because I loved working in SWAT. I did that for a long time, and I worked my way up from a team member all the way to the team sergeant. I liked working the trauma team. I was on that for 18 years, and that's getting involved in helping people that run into problems, whether it's at home with family, whether it's at work, and we saved a lot of people from going down the wrong path and self-destructing basically, or losing their job and their career. I really liked it when I had motors, working the traffic unit.
Oh, yeah.
and SWAT at the same time, because that was the best of both worlds. I got to work in the office at times. I got to work out in the field, and I liked riding the bikes, and doing the SWAT stuff was a lot of fun.
Was that in Salem?
Yes. And then I did like working street level drugs and vice, because those are livability issues. And we did a lot. We had a knock and talk team. Basically, we get a drug complaint. Somebody noticed something suspicious, or they knew their neighbors were doing drugs. And so they could just call in, leave an anonymous message, or we would work with them and we would go out and we'd start looking and seeing what was going on. And a lot of times, unfortunately, we would end up doing a search warrant there and arresting some people. But the good thing was you got those people out of there. A lot of them times they were just renters. So we'd work with the property management, the code enforcement, all different, the district attorney's office and the parole and probation. But you would start cleaning that up. I worked with one of the neighborhood associations in Salem, and it's the one near the penitentiary.
Sure.
And it had a terrible history of problems, drug problems. And so we just started going to neighborhood meetings and worked that for a couple of years. And then I got promoted and I brought in some new guys, and we just sat down, and people next all of a sudden started to give us a call, tell us what was going on, and we helped clean up that neighborhood. Yeah. We found out most of the problems were not from the neighborhood people. they were people coming into the neighborhood at night to do illegal activities and
Right.
cause problems. So, that was a really good one. And, with the knock and talk team, we also got kids out of those environments, and that was a big one.
That's great. So you're part of the Silverton Strong group. Did I say it
Right.
right? Not it. I always want to say Strong Silverton, but it's Silverton Strong that's putting together the neighborhood night out.
Correct.
So you feel like getting back to the neighborhoods is really where we need to go to be working as a better community?
I think it will be. We have the challenges with the COVID right now and being close and being able to socialize and all that. But I want to try and get the officers out that night. But I think if neighbors talk, because it's so often, I remember growing up and you didn't lock doors. You knew your neighbors.
Right.
And,
Me too.
if we were playing ball late one night, somebody's mom would call everybody else's mom, and they're still out there. They're fine. And it was no big deal. But today's a different world.
Yes.
And today you can go into a neighborhood and a lot of people don't know their next door neighbors or who's across the street. So if we can kind of get people out, meeting one another, there's a lot of benefits. You get communication going, you know who's there. If they need something, they can call you or you can call them. If they go on vacation, you can kind of keep an eye on their house, or if you see something suspicious, you can call the police and get us involved to help. But there's a lot of good things with getting neighbors to know each other.
What are you doing specifically in neighborhoods?
Well, it is a night out on August 14th, the second Friday of the month. We're hoping it turns into an annual event. They're just starting to put the information out, but what we're proposing as a community, that you have dinner in your front yard with your neighbors who are also in their front yard, all together but apart. So we can recognize our neighbors, get to know our neighborhoods, enjoy some social time, but still be able to socially distance. And there'll be a lot more information coming out about that.
Is this program coordinated with the city's effort to create neighborhood
Yes.
associations?
Yes. It's a small group that Mayor Palmer put together when COVID first started, of different community shakers and movers and leaders and that sort of thing, who all have, and we all have invested interest in our community. Don't say, people were singled out over other people. This was mostly just to keep our resources and our services kind of up front so we could all help each other and stay united to working together to make it a positive community. And, with all the changes going on and all the negativity out there, that's all around us, it's nice to have something that's positive.
Yeah, that's one thing we are seeing. Folks, unfortunately, are really using social media. And some people are saying things that I don't think they'd say to you if they were face to face. And this is one avenue we might be able to use to try to break those barriers down and get folks talking to one another. So, yeah, we're hopeful that folks will partake in that and it'll be successful and we can continue it on in the future.
Are you part of promoting this program?
Yes, I've been on the committee, the city manager and I, the human resources coordinator. We've had several people from the city involved with these weekly meetings, and it was an idea that came up a couple of weeks ago and it's just kind of caught fire. So we decided, let's try and make it go, see what kind of response we get.
Good. Well, I hope this takes root in the community. We several months ago, the council adopted a program for creating neighborhood associations, and the city staff was charged with the responsibility of keeping a database that would enable us to communicate with neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that gets some traction and moves forward.
Yeah, I know neighbor associations have been discussed and they're still in discussions, and I think this might be one thing that might lead towards more discussion of it. But neighbor associations, from my experience, over in Salem, were very beneficial and got a lot of good input, a lot of different input, a lot of discussion about ideas or issues. But yes, I know there's a lot of discussion about associations, so we'll see where that goes.
And I think this is going to be a nice branch off of to what had been starting with the emergency preparedness group and getting to know your neighbors in that respect as people were preparing for emergencies. I think this is just a nice natural offshoot of that, but it also brings it back together.
Chief, this year, the city council has set a priority for developing a bike master plan for the city. Are you involved in that effort?
Right now, I'm not involved in it. I've got a lot of committees that I'm involved in and go with, but I'm sure since it's going to involve the traffic, I'm sure I'll be brought into it because, you know, the different routes, how does that impact the different roadways, and be involved in that.
Well, did Jeff share with you that we had a bike committee in Silverton and he was a member of that, and
Yes.
he did quite a bit of work, and all the bikes that you pick up that are abandoned and have stored in that basement in the building next to City Hall there eventually get taken over to the bike shop to be refurbished and given through stock to the families that need bikes.
Right. We're still working with the bike shop that recently they were here, I think last month, and picked up probably 30, maybe 35 bikes.
Good.
So they've made 2 trips.
Yeah, Tim has been coordinating that. Is he still involved?
Yes, he is.
Under your direction? Yeah, good. Well, I look forward to working with you on that.
Great.
I met you briefly, Chief, actually at the very peaceful demonstration. Thank you for coming out.
Oh, my pleasure.
Silverton. Do you remember? Yeah, that. So my question actually pertains to, I know I appreciate your background and what you've been through. I'm wondering, in light of all that's going on these days with Black Lives Matter and all that, if I wondered if there's any thoughts in the future of addressing that particular issue locally, and if you have any ideas for going forward in Silverton with opening up discussion with the community, and perhaps the other segment is to bring in mental wellness professionals to talk with, you know, your patrolmen and so forth, because as you know too, mental illness is oftentimes associated with adverse or could be violent behavior. So I just wanted you to kind of talk about those 2 issues and what your thoughts are going forward, or if you have any plans.
Yeah, and I'm working with the trauma teams and peer support. That officer wellness is a very big issue in that, because if an officer isn't, you know, balanced and at their best, bringing their A game to work every day, they're not going to be as productive as they could be. And we look out for both wellness here at work, but also at home and off-duty type stuff, because officers will see things at work that you won't want to take home. You don't want to share with others because it wasn't pleasant. It was work. You had to deal with it. We know a lot from, say, 20 years ago, where I'll just take an officer-involved shooting. It used to be where you would just go home that night and we'll see you tomorrow. And we didn't know about all the psychological and physiological effects that could happen. And so what happened is you had a lot of officers that just packed that kind of feeling and stuck it in a closet in their mind and shut the door. But eventually someday it opens up and you got problems. So now today we know, because during your hiring process, you have to have a psychological evaluation. But then also now at the academy, they do training on wellness. And, you know, in addition to diversity and the racial impacts and implicit bias and, you know, a lot of outside influence, social issues that now can influence you. So we're a lot more aware of that and trying to address that. And here at Silverton, I was involved at the academy. We had a program we piloted, was first in the nation for the police academies, called Stress First Aid. And what that is, it's another support program. It was developed by a PhD researcher and a gentleman who did a military in the Navy in mental health. He was a captain in the Navy. And they had this support program developed, and it was for the Marines and the Navy, because they were seeing such a high rate of their sailors and Marines coming back out of Iraq and the Middle East wars. and they were having problems. They couldn't decompress. They couldn't fit back into family life. They were having problems if they separated from military service, and it could be anything from substance abuse to alcohol, and unfortunately, a lot of suicides. And so this program is kind of a situation where if you see something, you say something. So if you see your buddy having a problem, if you can't talk to them and get them where they need to go, or you get the word to somebody that can and get them addressed. So the Navy and the Marines, they teach this program from the admiral and the generals all the way down to the bottom line troops, and have had very good success. So they came to Oregon after looking throughout nationwide, and we put that together probably about, I think, 7 years ago. And now it's part of every training, and we've gone out to all the departments in the state and train on that. So it is another wellness type support program. And I know we have saved 3 officers that were thinking and seriously contemplating and planning suicide. And they went to that training, or somebody had been to that training, and they go, you know what, they're going through a lot of issues. I see the red flags now. I'm not going to just sit back and wait and see if they make it through it. I'm going to go say something. And a lot of them would go talk to them or confront them, or get them in there. And it's been a great program. But, for me, officer safety and officer wellness is huge, because I got to make sure they have their A game up. They, the best trained I can get them trained up to be, and to be able to be productive and be able to help other people out in the community. Because if you're not balanced and ready to be thinking and problem solving and communicating, and deal with whatever you get confronted with, you're just not going to be effective. And then that would let down our community members, because, we owe them a lot to try to help them with their problems. And if we can't solve it, maybe we can at least find a resource we can get them to, or bring that resource in. And so, but yeah, officer wellness and everything is just huge right now. So it'll be ongoing. I'm sure you'll hear more and more about it, but we just trained on it January, on stress first aid. And then we followed up with, major incident protocols. What do you do when you go to a major incident? How do you take care of stuff? And a lot of times you've got to put your emotions off to the side so you can deal with what's presented to you. And it just followed up, in February, we had an officer involved shooting here. And the officers go, holy cow, that was great to have that training, to what the red flags are, how we support the families, and what the families can look for, what the officers can keep tabs on and look for. And if they see they're going down or having issues, get some help, because we have it available. The main thing I want to keep is a productive officer on the road.
So in light of that, I love that. That sounds great. Keeping the mental health of the officers intact in the stress program. That sounds wonderful. But also what I want to address, though, is trauma and mental illness is very much a part of many of the behaviors that you see out there that get called in for, it might be a minor offense or an offense, but oftentimes there's an underlying mental health issue. And I know that there's a move towards bringing in more mental wellness advocates and people that can meet with and train officers more in that direction, and perhaps go out to an incident, call them and say, hey, I think we could use your help in this. Can you come out? Oftentimes they're better trained at de-escalating. So that's kind of what I'm interested in.
That's a great question. We do, just for general information, we do a lot of training in de-escalation, because we do that almost in every call. Because if somebody's there and they're agitated, you've got to calm them down to where you get them into thinking and problem solving and communicating before you can actually resolve a situation. But as far as outside programs, Marion County is very fortunate. We got a grant. It's run through the sheriff's office, and we have teams now throughout the county where it's teamed up with either a deputy or an officer with a mental health professional. So you have a therapist and an officer go out, and they have different teams. Some will take, and it's kind of an admin team where they get all the reports countywide from all the agencies. We were out with this person who had a mental health crisis, or we saw signs that we think they are. They might need a follow-up checkup just to see what they need, and they can go out and do that. But the other good thing is we actually have mobile crisis teams. So if we go out and we go to something and we can tell, yeah, this person, they're either not taking their meds or there's an imbalance problem, whatever it is, an anger problem, or, they're just down in depression or whatever, we're able to call these teams, and a lot of times they are able to come out. And so you get another person who the deputy or officer will be trained up to a higher level, but you also have the mental health professional right there. And so they will talk to them. And that's our goal is, yeah, they did commit a petty crime. So if we arrest them, yeah, we can take them to jail, but they're just going to kick them out, right? And that jail is not where they need to be. They need to get to the resources to help them get over these obstacles. And with the mental health teams, we can do that. And they're really good. And if they can't come, we can always get them on the phone and we talk to them, and then we forward them our report, and they will often be out there the next day or within a couple days to check on that person, see what the situation is at their residence, see what their employment's going on, what's going on with their doctor. And a lot of times they provide just, invaluable information to a doctor or a treatment provider, because otherwise they wouldn't know what's going on with this person because it's not happening in the office. Another program that the county got a grant for that we just got set up, and we have all our officers trained just last month. It's called the LEADS program. So if you have a person, they could be homeless, they could have mental health, alcohol, substance abuse, but they're out here in our community and they're doing a lot of these petty crimes, and we know we have them. We can go out and we can talk to them, and if they are willing and agreeable, on this LEAD team, they have 4 what they call navigators. These navigators are basically, they'll come out in the field and they'll meet with this person. Now, these navigators have been through what these people are experiencing. They've had drug problems, they had anger problems, alcohol problems. Some did time in prison. Now they've turned that corner, and a lot of them are want to change their lives around, and they've gone into therapy, counseling type education. One guy's working on finishing his bachelor's and already lined up to start his master's. If you were to look at him, this guy's tattooed from head to toe. And you would go, I don't know if I want to talk to that person. But it just brings in that human element. I've walked the road you're walking right now. Here's what we have to offer. And we just, in fact, had our first referral last week. It's a person that has done some prison time, and they're out and they're just having a really hard time because they can't break the cycle of using drugs. So we got them connected. We can charge you with this and that, but we think this is an opportunity. And the navigator came out, talked to him. He says, yep, he wants to do it. And it's just kind of interesting because we got the officer that dealt with them, got an email from his mom about 2 days later, thanking the officer for taking the time to get him, instead of just dealing with them like has happened in the past, go to jail. Now he can see a light at maybe an end of the tunnel, because through these resources that they have available through the LEADS program, they're going to be able, if he goes through and gets assessed, they figure out what kind of treatment he needs to, they get him to those providers. They're going to help him get housing. They're going to help him get his feet back up off the ground, and where he can start, work through a problem, deal with that, move on, and hopefully make his life productive and a lot better. So we're very hopeful we can get more people routed that way.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good. I like that.
That does bring up a question I have. If you know somebody who is needing some of that help or assistance, like through you call it the LEADS program, who would I get in touch with? You, just the department in general?
Yeah. You could call me. You can just call the front office and have an officer contact you. We can go through and find out what the background is, talk about the criteria, because they do have a criteria that they're dealing with folks right now. But they're very open because, we've got the DA on board. They're working with us. We've got all these resource and medical providers. And, there's the Lisa Miller is the one that's the coordinator of the grant and overseeing everything. So she sees everything. And she's at the point right now, hey, if you got anybody you think we could help, call us. Let's look at it and see if we can't do it. So it's just basically, we got to get a person that wants to, try to make things better,
Right. have to want to help themselves if you're going to help them.
Yeah, but there are a lot of resources. We're fortunate in Marion County, the whole area. So
That is really nice to know. Well, and you're involved in lots of service committees too. I believe you're probably a Kiwanian.
I'm not there yet. I've been going, I'm averaging about 8 meetings a week. So I'm
Yeah.
getting out and about. So we're working on it.
Well, you might want to switch to Rotary, you know. I know that Jeff was a Kiwanian, but Rotary is a good club too. They do a lot of community service.
Yeah, I did a Zoom meeting with Rotary there. And yeah, the invitations came flying out. So
Everybody wants you on their service club. Any other questions today for Chief Anglemier?
I checked in late just to see what's happening, and I appreciate what I've heard, especially with the leads program. Yeah, that's very good.
No, I think that'll help a lot of us. I encounter at different ages, not just rowdy seniors, but there's a lot of different people, family members, that kind of filter through here, and our resources aren't strictly just for seniors. We're all in the community together. So anything else for Chief Anglemier today? Well, we could kind of wrap things up a little bit. We've been trying to keep these about 40 minutes or so, and about an hour's worth. And then what'll happen is this will be edited and available to watch at any time on demand. And I will try and send you a copy, Chief, so you see it yourself too.
thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank all of you for coming today. And you'll be receiving some wonderful teddy bear sunflower seeds in the mail. Again, compliments of Silver Falls Seed Company and Triangle Farms. Make sure you go for a drive up around the Evans Valley and the Evans Valley Loop area and see all the spectacular colors that our wonderful community and our beautiful Silverton city has around us. We just have a really beautiful area that we live in. And I want to make sure everybody gets to share in that.
Just say thank you for giving me the opportunity to come out and spend some time with you. I appreciate that.
It's great to get to know you. Thank you all for coming today.